In 1974, the first tabletop role-playing game was created. Since then, people from all around have gathered to play. Join me as we talk with RPG enthusiasts while they share their best, worst, and favorite moments. This is You Had to Be There.
Hey everyone, welcome to You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast. Yeah, we are doing this again. If you're listening live, we are doing back-to-back episodes. Let's go. So for today, as always, I gotta do my few announcements, gotta give my credits. So my music for my intro was created by Michael James McGarry. He is my good friend, fabulous musician. You can follow him at It's MJ Made or It's MJ Music. It's MJ Made on Instagram or SoundCloud. You think, once again, after doing this for as long as I've been doing it, that I would know that. But you know what? Things happen. And then my awesome logo was created by Nicole Summers from the Reliably Chaotic podcast, which is a D&D campaign podcast. Original cast, original stories, really good time. And one more time, if you want to be a guest on the show, all you have to do is follow us here on Twitch or wherever you get your podcasts. And then you send me an email to youhadtobethere dndpodcast@gmail.com. That is DND with the 3 letters. So dog, Nancy, dog, podcast, that one, gmail.com. Send me an email and we'll talk about some Dungeons and Dragons. And that'll pretty much lead me up to my guest today is Aiden Mancini.
What's up, man? How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for hopping on the show. We always like to just kind of get right to it. How long, this is kind of cool because this is one of those guests where I've nothing about you. I know nothing about you. So, when did you start playing? Did you start with like D&D? Did you start with other tabletop role-playing games?
I think the first time I played Dungeons and Dragons was when I was around 10 years old, and I remember it pretty well. I was at a friend's sleepover, and another mutual friend of ours brought some character sheets, and we just kind of rolled up characters and played by like flashlight on the floor of his room. And I had a great time. It was like, never had really played anything like that, so it was a really cool experience. And yeah, then I joined a D&D club at my local library.
Okay.
We didn't play much because there was only like 3 kids in total most days, so we actually ended up just kind of like messing around most of the time, and some days there would be more kids and we'd get a game going, but didn't play too much. And I ended up moving away a couple years later. So when I moved to my new town, there wasn't really anybody playing RPGs at my new school that I knew of. So it kind of fell off for me, and I don't think I played anything for like 10 or more years until I met some new friends who were really into board games at the time, and eventually we decided to get into RPGs a little more, and cool. From there, so for like the last 3 years we've been playing regularly, and I can't get enough.
When you say that you got more regularly into RPGs, do you mean like you started playing other types, or were you specifically still playing D&D?
Yeah, actually we play some D&D, but mostly we play other games. Our main campaign that's been going on for about 3 years now is in Stars Without Number, a kind of old school, old school Renaissance style. So not too dissimilar to like old gen D&D, but more sci-fi focused, and we play a lot of sci-fi games for sure.
Nice. So, what other types? So, what is Stars Without Numbers again? If you don't mind me, kind of asking about that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a sci-fi game where basically the canonical backstory is like there was, you know, kind of like space. They're called psychics, you know, like kind of like biotics in Mass Effect, if you've played that. But
Okay.
and then there was like this big apocalyptic event where that kind of destroyed the whole galaxy's structure, and it made space travel like really difficult. And this game kind of takes place as things are being rebuilt, and you know, kind of they're refiguring out these technologies that allowed them to do space travel. And yeah, the mechanically it's got, you know, like a core set of 6 or 7 attributes, and then you have 20 or so skills that are like notice and shoot and stab and all kinds of different stuff like that.
Okay. So are there not really classes in this one per se? Is it kind of more? Is it more roleplay heavy-ish? Oh, there are classes.
Yeah, it's pretty structured, I would say. There are classes, and there are also kind of a different mechanics for if you're playing one of the psychics that have, you know, more magical based attacks. Yeah, so
are you a player in that usually, or do you DM those games?
I play in those games. In that system, yeah, I haven't DM'd in that at all.
All right. So what's your character like in that system?
My character is he's a barbarian class. His name is Hilly Pete. I was actually, you know, it's a very, I would say, not what I normally go for character. But I was kind of pitched the idea of playing a barbarian, kind of being the odd man out in this crew of spacefarers. And I was kind of reluctant at first. I also I think some of the tropes around like barbarian, you know, just the name alone kind of seems bad in some ways, but I really wanted to kind of subvert that. So I came up with this character who is grew up in this you know, civilization that was considered barbaric by this kind of evil corporation that you know, is spreading throughout the galaxy. And he was, you know, kidnapped and went to grow up on this foreign planet, and he got into wrestling, which is why he's so skilled in melee weapons.
Okay.
And you know, he's really about like trying to take down this corporation that kind of ruined his childhood.
It's hilarious. So how many people do you play typically in a game like that?
We have, I think it's 6 people like regularly playing. Yeah, we started with 4 and we expanded twice or 3 times. One person brought in a character who died very quickly and then came back as another character.
Have you ever had a character like die really quickly? I've been really lucky where like I've lost a character, but it was like in a silly kind of one shot.
Yeah.
Have you had a character die?
Same as you, it's always been in one shots and shorter campaigns that I didn't wasn't, you know, as attached to. So never had a long lasting character die.
Yeah, it's I'm like afraid of it, like really afraid. Like in the game we have right now, like we had a character die, but we were able to like bring her back, like so it ended up being okay. But oh my gosh, I was scared. I was like legitimately scared the whole time. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to handle this right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same because my character, he actually has some abilities that give him second chances when he reaches
the barbarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like, I think one of the skills is called like Die Hard, and it basically allows him to uh, he automatically stabilizes when you reach a 0 HP. So
Okay.
he normally you would have to be rescued by someone.
Right.
He, as long as he doesn't get like attacked again at 0 HP, he will survive. And
Auto stabilize. Okay. Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
like a racial feature or is that a class feature?
It was an ability I selected. I can't
Oh, okay,
remember.
cool.
I think it was specific to kind of there are three like major archetypes of characters. There's like a fighter, a psychic, and a specialist who's usually like a pilot or something.
Okay.
And yeah, so you have certain abilities you can pick depending on what kind of character you're playing.
Nice. And do you find that you like the sci-fi a little bit more than the
I definitely
classic I guess medieval era settings that I guess the systems were kind of born in, but I like that they do those different things. I was just curious on how you feel about like the different types.
I mean, I can definitely go for D&D and some other, fantasy classical styled RPGs. And I love like out of the box stuff too. That's not really doesn't fit into either sci-fi or fantasy in the classical sense. We tend to play a lot of sci-fi, I think, just because our GM Zach is definitely most interested in that. He's a real big fan of science fiction and horror stuff, so that's kind of where our games tend to go.
There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's cool. I want to try some other systems eventually. I haven't really. We're looking into trying a little, just Call of Cthulhu, something like very role play heavy. I've been working on that because obviously, like in the beginning for me, I was like, no, I just want to kill things. I don't want to mess around with I don't know, role playing silly. But now I'm starting to really like it, so I'm like trying to expand into those more role play heavy systems. What do you? So you're playing this sci-fi one is what you're working on right now? What you're working through right now?
Yeah. We usually play like once a week, and
Nice.
It was before the pandemic. We were playing in person, and we're pretty scattered about around the New York area, so we would only play like once a month. And some of our group was kind of like against playing online before the things got shut down and we weren't able to travel. And then, we switched to playing on Discord, and which has been, I think, mostly good in my opinion, because we've been able to play a lot more regularly. The downside being, we don't get to see each other in person and have that connection, but it's not bad.
And what do you guys use, like Roll20 or anything like that, or is this?
Yeah. We use Roll20. We get frustrated with it a lot, honestly. We tend to run into like all kinds of bugs and stuff. So we've looked for some different alternatives, and we might try some stuff out, but so far we've stuck with it.
The only other one I've used was this program called Foundry, but that's more for like big maps and stuff. It's cool, but it's like a lot of work. It's a lot of work to like for whoever's running the game. It's a ton of work. Even just playing it, like I'm like, I just want to. How do I map out where the fireball's going? And it's like Control F, C, whatever, and it's a little tough if you're not super computer savvy, I feel like, but it definitely was cool to be able to see the characters move around and stuff. I was born in the virtual world of tabletop role playing games, and I've just recently been able to play like 2 in person. It's different, I don't mind either one, but I do like in person. I guess it depends, because I was going from virtual to in person. Then I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But then virtual, the convenience of it for sure is great, to just being like, all right, it's time. Just pop the headphones on and we're good to go. When you do you tend to play like barbarians? Because now I'm just curious. Or what was your like first character like as in comparison to what you're playing now?
Yeah. So the first character I remember playing was like a bard, and I would say that's kind of where I would consider my what I would default to. I think like I like weird kind of, you know, non-combative characters for sure. But yeah, I've absolutely adored playing Hilly. He's definitely my favorite character, and it's definitely. Since then, I've always tried to play stuff that has been out of the box for me, like always trying to try a different aspect of a game if there's anything that like stands out as unique and stuff.
Nice. Like do you kind of try to create like crazy types of combinations, like to maximize? Are you a maximize, or when you say weird, like, I'm sorry, maximize isn't the word,
like min-maxing?
Just like the efficient, like if you're going to play a dex-based character, you pick a character that has boosts in dex stats and then you maximize those abilities. Or when you say you like doing out of the box, do you mean like, I'm going to try this character and see what happens? Like that kind of situation?
Definitely the latter. I don't tend to look into the specifics at all unless I have like a really strong idea in a game I've played a lot. So yeah, I really just want to kind of go for things that kind of pique my interest and see what happens. In a spin-off game we did of our main campaign, I played a character who is a specialist in the no stat. That's KNOW, not NO.
Okay.
And so he was like a professor, so he just knew like a bunch of stuff, and it was like really not useful, but the game was very silly from the start. So you know, it was just like, well, what will happen if I you know, ask the GM like, do I know anything about this, and then like get to roll to see, and then, you know, just have a very high chance of knowing what everything
so you just know a lot of stuff. Is it kind of like, I know in 5e they have the keen mind feat, and you're just like, I always know what time it is, and then I can remember everything, and it's just kind of like, it's like useful, but in like a dumb useful kind of way. You're just like, we're in a temple, but I know, you know, we're in a temple like 300 feet underground, but I know that it's 6:57 right now, just so everybody knows. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I would love that. Like, just be right on time for no reason.
Yeah. Very, very cool. So let's see. So you like all these different games. Have you ever had do you do like in your stories that you've come across in your time, have you done like, what's like crazy roleplay stuff? Like, have you ever had like a love interest or anything? I've been kind of recently interested in like, you ever gone down that rabbit hole, or is that not something you're into?
Not with my current character. I've thought about, you know, if we play something else, I might kind of go strong the other way and be kind of flirty and stuff, which again would be like really outside of my normal play style a lot. But I would like to try it and see what happens.
But isn't that's the whole point of this game, is to try like different things that you would never do, you know? Be the brave. I'm trying to do that now. Like for me, I had like, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Like I was like, for me, in the situation where it's like, don't push the button kind of thing, like Tom never pushes the button. And even though I like tried making characters, and I was like, this character would push the button, but I still don't push the button because I'm Tom and I'm afraid. But like, I was like, I'm gonna, like the DM was like, there's a shiny gem on the ground, and Tom's like, I know I'm not supposed to pick this up, but I'm gonna pick it up. I did it, and then I got cursed. So this is like exactly what I was supposed to do, but like, for me, I was like, damn it, why did I do that? I was like, right, because a character would have done that. This is annoying. Like, But have you ever had any situations like that where you've done something like, what was like the worst like consequences that you've had to face from a character's actions, if you can recall?
I mean, with Hilly, so the initial idea of the campaign, the premise was that we were like a galactic census, and we were going to go to different planets and basically like check on the populations there, bring back statistics and stuff. Right. But because of Hilly's bad relationship with the corporation we were all coming from, and the fact that it happened to be Hilly's planet that we first went to, things went off the rail really quickly. So now we are rebels from this corporation. We've had some run-ins with them, and so it's been like the whole campaign totally changed within the first few sessions.
That's awesome. What does this corporation do again? You mentioned the corporation a couple times.
Yeah, they're very shady. Like they just seem to be like, I would compare them to like the East India Company in historical terms. They're just like, they have their hands in everything and within their sphere of influence. Just
feels like one of those movie situations where like the normal people, it's like a Pineapple Express situation where like you're just like minding your own business and then you stumble on something you shouldn't have, and then it's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, so how many years has it been then? You've been playing for how many years now? I know you're a little on and off, but
yeah, I would say like it's been 3 years since I really got back into it, but
all right,
it was like 15 when I started, so pretty weird.
In all these like years, what are some of your favorite moments then? Like the ones that always, anytime you tell someone like, I play these games, like, oh, what's that like? Well, this one time.
Definitely the end of our first big arc on our main campaign.
This is the one with the corporation?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we were kind of like trying to escape these like robots that the corporation was sending out from everywhere. It was like hundreds of them maybe. And there was like one big robot that showed up, and we were trying to take off in our ship, and like they were attacking us, and we ended up turning around and like driving our ship straight at the giant robot in the middle. And I don't know how it happened exactly, but somebody was like, okay, the song Panama by Van Halen is playing. So, it's like just heavy guitar riffs, and like we're just screaming down towards this guy. And we have a guy who can teleport people. So he was going to like teleport us off the ship right before it hit the giant robot into another ship that some NPCs we knew were flying away. Unfortunately, he failed, and we all like smashed into this giant robot. Somehow we all survived, but it was just like, it was like comedy turned to like tragedy, and then somehow we made it out okay, but it was like.
So wait, one more time. So you're going. So you're in your spaceship and you're trying to ram the robot.
Yeah.
And then there was another ship coming, you said?
Yeah, we had made friends with some people on the planet we were on, and we were both separately leaving on our own ships. Okay. And we were like, their ship's better than ours anyways, so let's just wreck this thing, take out this big robot, stick it to the man, and our psychic can teleport us off without any harm to us. And he like really failed that role, so it ended up like just turning into a huge wreck. We ended up getting away, but it was really funny. Yeah,
it's like just the suicide jump, like Grand Theft Auto, when you're just driving the car and you just die out and just just like that was
exactly.
The plan. Nice. Did the robot like attack you after that or anything, or was it just kind of like standing there?
We managed to kill the robot.
Did the explosion kill it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. One play.
Yeah. We did get the hit in. We just didn't make it out. And yeah, I think that gave us like a lot of the other robots kind of cleared out, which gave us a chance. And we were able to call the other ship to come pick us up because of the teleporting wasn't working out.
Can you like? All right, so the ship. What's like the space situation as far as like if there's a breach in the hull, like do you start to lose oxygen, or are you guys kind of alien? Like, is there abilities you have? How does that work for sci-fi stuff? It's something I just thought about. I didn't even like.
Yeah, this game's kind of like hard sci-fi, and we're all human characters. So
Okay.
if there was damage to the ship, it is possible we would like start to lose oxygen. And I think we've never had it happen, so I hope my GM isn't listening too intently on this, because he might get some ideas. But we have like vacuum suits, like space suits and stuff that we could put on in case of emergency. So it would definitely be something we'd have to deal with in prompt fashion.
Okay. But in this situation, you didn't have to do that. You were basically just
we were on a planet with atmosphere, so we could breathe without the ship.
Okay. Oh, okay. So this ramming, you were kind of like the robots were on the planet, and you were kind of like trying to get away. Okay, so that's good, because I was like, you're gonna blow it up in space. I don't know. I guess I had the vision a little different, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a factor where like you guys you're like, we're gonna die if we don't get oxygen? Like, did you ever have to like do that? The sci-fi like RPGs are so new to me, so I'm now just thinking of all these like mechanics that like I don't even think about when I'm firmly on the ground,
We've had times where we like were on a clock because we knew there was only so much oxygen or some other resource before we would have to go back or die. So usually like the GM will try to make you aware of the potential of that kind of thing before springing it on you, so you don't get yourself caught in a no-win situation. But we've had a lot of near-death experiences otherwise, for sure.
I can believe it. I mean, like space, I don't know. I hate flying just on a regular plane, so like a spaceship would be an absolute no for me. But like, there's so many other factors like that, I guess, and like all these different settings. It's really, really cool though. I definitely gonna put sci-fi on my checklist. You did say that you did you ever DM? Because you said you've never DM'd in this system. Did you used to DM prior?
I've done a couple games. I'd like to do more. It's definitely difficult. So our main campaign was actually our GM had never even played an RPG before, but he is like incredibly natural at it. Like, I think it was just like what he was born to do. He's a great storyteller and an even better like character maker.
That's
he can
awesome.
embody like all these different types of roles so well.
I've talked to quite a few people that were just like, I never played before, but I wanted to play, so I just started running the games. I'm like, that's intimidating as hell, like just jumping right into that. So then for yourself, you DM'd a couple times. If you were to DM now, like what would you do, a sci-fi system, or would you go back to more of like a classic D&D setting?
Yeah, I do have a game that's like on hold until I basically kickstarted a sci-fi mech based game called Beam Saber that's based on Blades in the Dark. If you've ever heard of that.
No, I haven't. What's Blades in the Dark?
Blades in the Dark's a very interesting game. The premise of that is that you're like a gang of thieves in a kind of a sort of steampunk world, and the system is very, I would say, abstract. It's like very modern, and there's a lot more role-playing freedom than Stars Without Number, which is more numbers based.
Okay.
And yeah, so it like has a lot of interesting mechanics. Like you don't choose your loadout for a mission before you go out on it. Like you choose the amount of stuff you can have, and then you can declare what you have like as you need it, which kind of is just to make the game more cinematic and like more action oriented. So you're never like, oh, I should have brought this thing, but I didn't. You can have whatever you want. You just have a limited number of things you can bring into play.
So you kind of gear up before each thing instead of having like your generic equipment?
Sort of, except yeah, when you gear up, you don't say exactly what you have, and like you have a list of things you could have.
Okay.
And then like if you need something, you can say you have that. It just takes a one out of 4 inventory slots. So you just have to manage the number of things you have, but you can then have whatever you want for that mission. It means that you're never like totally unprepared, and you're never like caught in the thing where it's like, oh, I could do this cool thing if I had just brought this. It gives you the flexibility to make cool things happen.
So you can just kind of like pick that item on the fly, but once you pick it, you have that item. Mm-hmm. That's really cool.
So Beam Saber is based on that system. Blades in the Dark kind of released a toolkit for making games in the same style, and so they're called Forged in the Dark games that are based on it. But I backed this game, and I ran a couple sessions. I need the full rule book, really. I felt like there was a lot of things that were kind of unfinished and not written down entirely. So I've been waiting for that to come out before continuing it. But I definitely am also interested in running some other games. And, I'd really like to try out different stuff.
It's cool. I think like the one thing that scares me about like for playing's one thing, but like I learned how to play and run games by like I'm a listener and a watcher. So like I watch like YouTube videos and listen to podcasts. So like that must be hard when it's it's such a new system, and then it's like it's a Kickstarter. So like you really need to read and absorb all that stuff if you're gonna run a game like that. So that's like kudos to you and anyone else who does that, because I'm like I learned like one system and I was like this is enough. I don't even know what to do with my brain, but some people just have the bandwidth for that. So I'm always a little jealous of that. And then in the past, what you said you ran games. Did anything ever crazy happen in your games that you ran that you remember that your players did to you?
I think I feel like I'm always caught off guard. You're never. I think that's probably just not me, but it's I have to do a lot of preparation, and then so much of it ends up in the garbage, obviously. Sometimes I think with our group, we end up trying to explore everything in as much detail as possible. Okay. And that results in we always play like really long and really slowly. Sometimes I joke that it's like we're playing in real time, like 24 hours in our RPG could take 24 hours in real life. But yeah, I think everybody like is always like looking in every nook and cranny. So you have to come up with like all the little details of your environment. We were exploring the ship one time, and I was kind of trying to guide them like down this flight of stairs to where they had to go, and they ended up like breaking through like multiple like airlock doors to get into like a residential space that had next to nothing interesting in it. and I just had to like come up with some color for doing that. So that's always like the thing that is the hardest for me to come up with ideas for.
It's just like when they just do whatever they want and then you just gotta roll with it. I can respect that. Like I ran a game 2 weekends ago, or something like that, and it was just like this. It's a 5e module, but essentially it's a pie festival, and the two competitors like are suspects in like this big mystery. And my guy's like, well, who else is in the contest? I'm like, I don't know. Mary's in the contest. And like he knew that I made up Mary on the spot.
Yeah.
And then he's like, we're gonna split the party, you guys go interrogate those ones, I'm gonna talk to Mary. I'm like, why? You know I made her up. I wrote the name, like I was like Mary, and I just wrote down the thing like that's the name. But he was like, nope, I'm insistent, I'm gonna go, she's a suspect. And so I know, like, just make up a whole character, and then he's bantering with her, and I was like, I don't know, she's not in the pie contest because no one likes her pies because she puts bacon in the blueberry pie. Like, who does that? Like, I don't know. It's just like, that's part of it, because like I don't know. Go ahead.
That's one thing that I think our GM Zach does just so incredibly well. Like, one of our favorite characters was a guy we like disabled his spacecraft when he attacked us. He was just some like spacer punk kid who signed up with a gang that we were fighting against, and we ended up like taking him aboard our ship, and he was just being a real ass to us. But instead of like, just getting rid of him, we ended up like keeping him around for a long time, and like our GM just completely made up this incredible backstory for him that kind of we like got rolled out. Like, somebody took his compad and was like trying to look through information and found like really sad texts between him and his family. Like, they were like, we forgive you, son, come home. And so he became like our favorite character. And like, Zach just made up so much of that without any preparation, I think.
That's hilarious. And so you turn this NPC into pretty much like almost the main character. He's just like the best. Yeah.
We had a huge incident regarding him because we had another character who came on who really was basically fighting this gang his whole life and did not trust at all this kid, and he tried to like murder him, and we were all like in this huge fight over it, like, who do we go with? So we ended up like just abandoning the guy who tried to take
murder
him out.
the NPC.
Yeah. And it was a player character, and luckily, it was a guy who he plays very he role plays very hard and is also like not very attached to his characters, so he does kind of wild stuff like that, like trying to murder the favorite NPC of the crew, and so he ended up, we just like left him. The player Tyler ended up coming back as another character later on. But
that's what I was gonna ask, did he just abandon the character?
Yeah,
that's
he
hilarious.
Totally did. We tried to figure out what happened to the character later, and what we heard was that he was just dead now. Like,
he's just dead now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Your favorite, what was the NPC's name? Do you remember the one that you?
The NPC we really liked was named Rondo, Chris Rondo, I think.
Chris Rondo.
Yeah.
So when he was like trying to murder him and you guys defended him, after, like, Chris Rondo was legit, right? The one guy wasn't, right, though? He didn't stab you in the back or anything?
Yeah, he was a good, like, he was just a kid who was lost and didn't know what he wanted to do. We ended up kind of traveling with him for a bit, and he ended up sort of joining another gang, but a more tolerable gang, I guess. So I think we'll see him again for sure. Everybody still talks about him all the time.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really funny. Do you have any other like favorite stories? We got maybe a few minutes left to if you have any ones that you have in mind that you want to share.
Yeah. I guess I really like when we kind of do things like out of system, sort of, in that we play like a different game, which we've done a couple times. The first time I can think of was we were working for basically like the space Yakuza.
Okay.
And we ended up going to a mahjong parlor to try and get some money from people. And the GM was like, all right, so everybody boot up Tabletop Simulator. We're going to play some mahjong. And we actually like learned to play mahjong and then played it in the game, which was...
That's hilarious. So you were like, you're doing your RPG, but then you guys picked up an actual mahjong like table and did that out of character. Did that out of the system, but it was like, this is what's happening, but we'll just legitimately play mahjong. Yeah, that's hilarious. I think one of my past guests was talking about that, how like they would, some of her like favorite times were just, we were in a tavern and we were playing blackjack, and then we were just actually playing blackjack for like 40 minutes, and then the GM is just like, wait, well, we still have like to do the rest of the thing. You guys can't just sit here and play blackjack all day.
Yeah.
We just play blackjack. But no, that's great. That's a really cool like way to incorporate a real life event, and like you said, you guys play in real time, so that works out in that situation. Very, very cool, man. All right, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for hopping on and being a part of the show. Do you have anything that you plug? Do you stream at all? Do you anything like that?
Yeah, we actually, our RPG group kind of has just started getting into Twitch streaming a little bit. We've been playing some games, and I hope sometime we'll like stream some RPG sessions or something. So we made a Twitch page called Neat Freaks. That's N33TFR33KS. So all the E's are threes, and
and I'll take that link. I'll put it in the descriptions and stuff for this as well. Anything else?
That's it. I don't have much of a social media presence myself, so it's just
smart thing. It sucks.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, man. So once again, this has been You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast. If you want to be a guest on the show, once again, you just email me at youhadtobethere@dndpodcast@gmail.com. That's D&D with the 3 letters, not D&D with the symbol, not D-A-N-D. It's just D-N-D, because apparently some people really have a hard time with this. That's my fault for probably making too long of an email. But please follow the podcast. Also, the email is also in my description for all of my things. You can just click it there. Follow the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us here on Twitch. You can follow me on Tom DeSillis Comedy, at Tom DeSillis Comedy on Instagram, T DeSillis Comedy on Twitter. I tend to tweet out when we're going live. And that should bring it to the end of the show. This has been You Had to Be There, a D&D storytelling podcast with Aiden Mancini. Bye, everyone.
Bye.